good, everybody? What's good? Hope you had a good start of the week. Hope you had a good start of the week. All right. Yeah, I hope your week started out good. So today, we're basically going over some fundamentals. All right. We got to fundamentally understand what's going on. Yeah, we got to fundamentally understand what's going on. Anthony, what's up, bro? What's up? Yeah, we got to fundamentally understand what's going on with this fretboard. And a lot of us we're doing a lot of remembering shapes, and things like that. And that's cool. Remembering shapes are cool. But at some point, we have to fundamentally understand what's going on. So, that just simply means learning the fretboard. It's just real simple. Learning the fretboard. So every now and then, I just like to go over the basics, whether it's like once a week. We get into learning songs. We get into, getting on some oldies, some old classics, some R&B stuff. But then after that, we have to come back and say, all right, let's get back to the basics. Let's understand why we're playing these chords. So I'm pretty big on that. There are many instructors on YouTube. I really commend their teaching style. And there are some who I think they're really good players, but they're not teaching their community why they're playing what they're playing. And I feel like they kind of overstep some things, and then people got to go back to the video to get it. But when you learn what some of the things that I'm showing you, such as, just simply learning the fretboard. And sometimes we want this fast way of learning it. And I mean, that's cool. We can go for that. But sometimes we just gotta stick it to our memory. But it's important to find easier ways, to do it. So finding patterns that help us to remember, I call it not technically remembering, but when it comes down to it, sometimes we have to just not be lazy and just memorize it. But there are ways to memorize it much easier and not overthink it. Okay, so hopefully I can provide a way to make it just easier to remember, basically. All right. So step one, I'm going to pull up the fretboard, and don't let this overwhelm you, but just understand that I'm going to explain this in steps. Okay. I'm going to pull this up. And like I said, hopefully it's not intimidating, and it's really not. It's really not. So let me go back, and here we go. All right. So here's the fretboard, and right now we're going to focus on the key of G. All right. So these dots, where these dots are placed, is the key of G. All the notes that belong to the key of G on the fretboard. Okay. Now maybe I can do something to kind of help real quick. Maybe I should do this. Place this right here. There. And just so that you can understand that, just understand where everything is. And another place. Here's another place too. Now, I'm not going to put where every single G is. Okay. But just know that all these different places is where there's a G located. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pretty much just put those and notes. We're going to lock that. All right, so right now, this is where this is where some of the G's are located. Okay. And when I'm talking about the G's, I'm not talking about the gangsters. But anyhow, this is where that is. And I'll flash it. I might flash it off every now and then just so that, we can see the pattern for what it is. But now, so this is what that is, right? Now, understand that any guitar player who's been playing for, I guess, a decent amount of time and they know the fretboard, they're not looking at this like in its entirety. Like it doesn't just illuminate in front of your mind. Many guitar players, and maybe for some guitar players, maybe it does. It doesn't happen that way for me. Now, maybe it does it in sections for me. Therefore, the whole neck is illuminated. The whole neck or the entire key of G is illuminated. Maybe. But the way that I initially look at it is in sections. Okay. Now, here's what I want you to notice. When I let me find this real quick so that I can do this. When I look at this, I'm locating the G major scale initially. Okay, so let me put this here. Actually, this right here. I was actually supposed to do that different. So let me actually select these. This was supposed to show up differently. And oh, yeah, I actually did it correct. So sorry. There we go. I actually did it correctly. So, okay. So this is the main G major scale. This is like usually what you see first right here. Okay. Typically when you first learn of a major scale, this is what people show you. Now, if I take all this away, that's what you see. All right. So, yeah, it's, I guess you could say it's self-explanatory or whatever. Now, the way that this looks, and I'm not on Ecamm today, but I'm not on TikTok today, rather. And I've shown y'all several times, several times. But the way it looks, coming from G, which is this third fret, and you're actually looking down on it, okay? You're actually looking down on it. And can I add the overlay? Let me see. Nah. Nah, that's the wrong screenshot. Anyway, just sort of remember this this overlay right here, and I'll actually do it in this screen just so that I'm not like going back to that camera and trying to fix it and stuff like that. I should have the template set before the video. So anyway, you can see it right here. So this is me looking down on the fretboard. This is what the chart is showing. So it's the third fret. All right. Let me get a little louder. All right. That's the G major scale. Now, another way that we can look at the G major scale, it's basically a different position, is this one. It's the same exact notes, just played in a different position. All right. And those of you who are watching, if you want to pause it or watch the replay, and do whatever it is that you got to do. Still coming from the third fret from the E string. All right. And the way this looks is this. Okay. I played the same notes. So the reason that I'm showing you this is because the G major scale is, in terms of the key of G, is all over the fretboard. So when I show all those dots, it's just a bunch of G major scales repeated. You know what I'm saying? So if you know how to repeat it and overlap it and keep it going, then you basically know the whole thing. This is why I'm not really introducing it to you, but this is why I'm showing. Let me turn down a little bit. I see I'm kind of clipping, but this is why I'm showing. Still clipping. This is why I am showing these different positions. Okay. Now I'm just kind of play a little music while I'm singing. While I'm talking. But I just want you to see that it repeats everywhere. Okay. So if I were to come here, like I said, okay. It's everywhere. So like once you know the intervals, they pretty much repeat. All right. Now let's pull it back up. So it's very important that we know the intervals. Now I have introduced the intervals to you before. I have shown you the intervals to you before, and I probably should have written out those intervals, but I remember sharing with you all before the whole step, half step thing. And basically it's 2 W's, 1 H, 3 W's, 1 H. So it's whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Well, starting with this G right here. Well, what's the next note after this G? Well, you got to go a whole step. A whole step is 2 frets away, basically. You're skipping 1 fret and you're going to the following fret. Okay. So then you do another whole step. So you do 2 whole steps before you get to a half step. So whole step, half step, whole step, half step. That is how you construct a major scale. That's the foundation of everything that you hear. The foundation. I'm not saying that that's how you construct a minor scale and everything. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the foundation is the major scale. But once you can lock that into your mind, the whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Just take note of where you're starting from. Okay. Now just another quick, like a little nugget, one quick nugget is, let me erase the notes real quick. After you know these intervals, you apply this to every single key. So let me highlight all of these real quick. Hopefully I can. Hopefully I don't have it all locked. Unlock it. So, okay, boom. So if you want to go to A, let's say you want to go to F sharp. Right now we're in G and you want to go to F sharp. Well, guess what? All those intervals apply to F sharp as well. Now this is not G. This is G right here. This is F sharp. All the intervals apply the same way. In the key of F sharp, it's the same. You gotta like really, like, one key is knowing how to identify what that root is. And then from that point, you're applying the same exact intervals. It's the same. It's the exact same. So the major scale is basically the root that everything kind of snaps on. It's almost like it's the rubber band, you know. It's that rubber band that everything snaps to. You can deviate and come back to it. You can, however you want to look at it. Okay. Now I've already shown you the major scale and where that is located. I pretty much showed you this. Okay. And I showed you this. And I didn't actually highlight it. I didn't highlight this for you, but hopefully this will make sense when I do it. I'm going to place this here. Okay. And I'll just undo it after I'm done. So this, when people talk about the 2, this is basically the 2. The first scale that I showed you, which is the major scale, is the 1. Okay. So now you move to the next section and you're basically just playing the next set, which is no longer a major scale, but it's basically the major scale played from the second note, which is this dot right here, back to that same second note, but it's just an octave up. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to, let me just take this back to 1. Okay. So that's like that octave away that I was showing y'all before. And that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to stop there and we'll get into all the other stuff, but I just want you to see that this set of notes is the same as, let me undo, is the same as this major scale. You're just starting and finishing at a different place. So this is the major scale, but that other scale that I just showed you previously was just starting here and ending here. You're just ending in a different place. So again, if you can memorize the initial intervals, well, now you're basically shifting those intervals, but just starting from a different place. The intervals do change when you start from a different place, but you got to start with that major scale. Okay. All right. Let's move to the next part. Maybe I'll start the music back over. Just to kind of fill in the space a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Good evening, Ayla. I appreciate y'all showing up too. Even when I'm not sharing like a popular song, that shows me that you're really trying to learn it. And you could just be supporting, which is cool. But I can tell that you're really trying to learn this. So if you all have any questions, please chime in. Please interrupt me and say, okay, what did you mean by this? Or what did you mean by that? So to review, this is the key of G. Okay. These dots are located in the place where basically all the notes in the key of G are located. Okay. And so I'm just kind of doing a review, doing some things that, we really just should know. We really should just know it. Okay. I'll do that later. All right. So the next part. So one way that I actually memorized the fretboard, I sectioned off where these notes are located. Okay. I basically sectioned them off. So here's mainly where I started. One of the places that I started, and I'll show it here. Let me start right here. All right. So this is where I started. Okay. I started basically in one section. So the ones that are highlighted right here are the ones that like this is where I started. So it starts with that G, and I basically memorized this 4th fret window. I memorized that. I memorized those intervals, and it's basically the G major scale twice. So if I were to play this, and don't let me make a note of this. You may not want to start at this dot, but it's still cool to start here so that you just know the intervals. But really, when I play it, I'm starting at this G. I just made sure that I plugged every single note on the chart so that you could see it. Okay. So, but here's how it sounds. And I'm playing the correct intervals, but I'm not landing on any particular note. I just want you to see how it sounds and see how it looks. My goal is to familiarize or help you to be familiar with how it looks, because then it becomes easier to approach and actually remember. What I want to get out of anybody's mind who is learning guitar and you're like teaming up with me, either as an instructor or a fellow guitar player or whatever, I don't ever want anybody to say, ooh, that's too hard. No, if you look at it enough times, if you're around it enough, it's like, okay, all right, yeah, show me that. You know what I'm saying? It's more so, yeah, show me that, or let me see what you're doing, or not, let me stay away from that. It's not that. So anyway, here are the intervals. And again, this fretboard is me looking down this way. Okay, I'm looking down this way. So. So on and so forth. Okay. So that's how that sounds, just that section by itself. All right. Now, to be quite honest with you, just like I said this about the major scale, if you know this, you can actually apply this to every other section. Like these same intervals are present in every other section. They just start and land on different places. And there's a reason why it looks scattered or whatever, but just know, if you can train your ear to the intervals and you can train your eye as far as what's next, whether it's a whole step or half step, you will automatically know without knowing the whole fretboard that the next note is a whole step or a half step. Okay. It's almost like knowing the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do thing. So when you do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, you know it's not do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. It's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You know that vocally, and your vocals are like, can remember it, and then you say it that way. This G major key it applies to the key of C, every single key. Every major key this applies to, all 12. All 12. This is why I'm showing this one. The only reason I'm showing this one is because it's just a good position to where you can see just the whole fretboard and you can see every single section. Okay. So does this apply for every single major scale? If we start the root note of this, yes, that is true. The only thing that you have to remember is that this 5th fret, this is where A is. If this is the A, these intervals are going to shift over to that A. So let me do this real quick, just so that you can see it. Now I'm not going to fill it in to the part that is before the G, but let me erase where I have the notes so that it doesn't confuse anything. But I'm going to highlight all these, and I'm going to take where that G is. The G is right here. I'm going to put it right here. All these intervals apply to the key of A, the key of A major. What am I doing? Yeah, all those intervals apply to the key of A major. Okay. Yes. So that's how guitar players are able to, like, once they kind of find that one note, and then they play a scale, they're basically referencing something. So as long as the song that I'm listening to is relatively staying within the same key. Now, some songs kind of jump from key to key. Let's be clear on that. Some songs do it, and some really good songs do that, and you just have to understand what's going on. And then in that case, that's like a little bit more advanced. You got to kind of take it as it is. And the more you do it, the more you get used to it. It is a lot of patterns, but keep in mind, it's the G major scale repeated. It's the major scale repeated all over the place. Okay. So that I hope that answered your question, Ayla. It is. Let me, because I think I showed something before you came on, so I'm going to just review this one part. And so for those of you who are watching the replay, I'm basically answering questions that on this live that people are actually asking. So one question from one of our commenters is, does this work for every major scale if we start the root note on the 6th string? Yes, that is true. And to be honest with you, it's the same if you it's the same if you started on the 6th string. Yes, but all the other ones are in front of you as well. So these are literally the notes. It's not just when you start on the 6th string. So it's all. I appreciate it. I was wondering, if it was something that, y'all were, that something that's resonating with you. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to maybe cut this lesson, not short, but it's saying that my disk space is getting low. And let me do this real quick. I thought I emptied out all my space. Put that back in. But yeah, it's literally the same. Now, let me show you this this part, this one part. So where this G is, because I want to show it to you. I've already said the intervals, the whole step, half step, whole step, half step. I showed you that. All right, so starting at this G, that's a major scale. So I'm going to use the same interval formula, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, starting at this G, but if I go to a G an octave away, which is right here, those same intervals apply. The same intervals. If I just start there, and I am playing a major scale, it's the same situation. So whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Same thing. So I start here. Now, it's also important to kind of translate it to other strings as well, because the top 2 strings kind of shift a little bit, just 1 fret. So if you keep that in mind, so whole step, from the root to the next one is a whole step, and from here to here, so if I go from the D string to the G string, that from fret D string 7th fret to G string 4th fret, that's a whole step. This is also a whole step. So if you know that, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. It still applies. It's just knowing, just knowing that simple thing will help you to, locate everything. You just got to know, you just got to commit those very small things. It's important to know those really small things starting out. It's hard but necessary, but it ain't that hard. It is not like when it's your first time hearing it, it's like, but I can promise you, if you just keep doing it, it's like anything else. Just like how you just left a comment. Somebody else might say, oh, it's hard to leave that comment. But I'm just saying, there was a time when leaving a comment was a foreign concept, especially when texting and, it's like some people are like, I would rather just talk to someone in person. Okay, well, people started getting hip to texting. They was like, and y'all remember when we was texting, right? y'all remember when we was texting at first. And I'll let you have it, Ayla. I'll let you have it. We can go back and forth all day. But y'all remember when we first texted and you got the doggone number pad and you had to hit the B, or no, you had to hit the letter like a bunch of times. You had to hit the 2 like 3 times just to make a C. And I was like, man, forget it. I ain't about to text, man. It's too hard. And then we got the actual keypad. That was actually kind of cool. But the actual keyboard. Yeah, and I mean, and some people are going to get it faster than others, to be quite honest with you. If it's your first time hearing it, I promise you, it might be kind of like, and if you put your fingers to the frets and you actually start doing it and you do it a few times, it starts to stick. And then now if you go a week without doing it, it'll start to drift away a little bit. But if you do this consistently, it starts to open up. I promise you. And then start doing it from the second fret, So you do the major scale. Then you start from the second note. Doing the same exact intervals, but landing on the same note that you started. So I'm going to do the same intervals, but starting from a different note. So I'm doing the same intervals and I'm literally playing every step of the way. Okay. Anthony says, play this video a few times, you will get it. And then he says, the biggest thing is memorizing the whole and half steps. That is the biggest. That's the part you can't miss. Okay. Yeah. And you know what? I use piano to teach myself guitar. That's how I'm able to stick with it as well. Yeah, it's just a different substrate or a different canvas. You can look at it that way. So Ayla says, I'm coming from piano, so I understand tones and semitones and octaves, but this is so different. Yeah, and guess what? It's the same on a saxophone. Now, wind instruments are a little different because you're playing multiple valves just to make one note. Piano and guitar are similar in that wherever the note is, you play the note. So that's one of the reasons I think that we kind of have an advantage in that sense. But tonally, all the instruments are the same. But in terms of the piano is also a stringed instrument, technically. A stringed instrument and a percussion because you have mallets hitting the strings. So a piano is technically a harp. And guitar is also a stringed instrument. Right. I play trumpet too. You got 3 doggone valves and you got all these combinations. It's like, you know what? I'm going to go to something I could just hit the note. But yeah, if this is a G, this is a G. You don't have to combine stuff to hit a G. So Now I'm going to kind of take a peek into something else. Okay. I'm going to go a little further, but I don't want to go too far, but I do want to just like take it a little bit further, So, excuse me. I did show you how, this highlighted set, there's a highlighted set right here. And that was pretty much what started me on memorizing the fretboard. It's like once I got it, after a while, I wasn't thinking about it after that. And I wasn't somebody trying to play scales all over the place. Okay. Now starting here, I'm going to be like Speedy Rabbit. Okay. And I don't expect for you to actually get it. It's just important for you to have it in your face. When you have it in your face, you can, your mind starts to establish a root system. It starts to, the memories and the muscle memories start to establish itself. It starts to carve a path so that you can begin to commit it to memory. So at this point, that's all I'm doing. Now, before, hey, go back as much as you want to. But if you listen to the first part, you could better understand this part. Okay. So I got this part highlighted off, and it helped me to better understand this part. Then when I got that part, it helped me to better understand that part. Well, I see y'all can't see that because I got the green screen on. But just understand that next section right here. It helped me to better understand that part. Okay. And then I was better to understand this part. Then I could better understand that last part as well. So just like keep that in mind. The intervals is really where it's at. And it really does start with that major scale. And all of these intervals are major scale intervals. They're just spread all over the board. Just like the only thing with guitar is that there are no black and white keys. With piano, whatever goes on between that middle C and that next C is the same between that C and then the following C. And it just keeps going, and you could just memorize it in that way. Well, in this sense, you literally have to memorize the intervals, but we got to memorize the intervals too with piano. Same thing. Now, here's where it hopefully will start to hopefully. Yeah, you just got to keep seeing it. And if I see there's more people on here, y'all come in the comments, man. Come in the comments. All right. Okay. So this next part. So we see where these notes are. Now I'm about to make these kind of vanish. I'm gonna make them vanish and come back. Okay. But I'll do a separate lesson on this using the same chart, going over the same stuff. I really believe that repetition is, it's just, you just got to keep doing it. And we can't be afraid of doing it over and over. Just like I've said this before, like we eat every day, right? You don't eat one meal for life. It don't work like that. You need nutrition on a daily basis. Your body needs that certain nutrition, certain amount of calories. And our bodies will pass all that stuff, and we need more. Like our minds kind of work in a similar way. Now, I think it all stays there ultimately, but whatever is in the forefront, you got to keep repeating that on a daily basis in order for it to be fresh. Okay, so I look at information as food. I do. So I'm inviting you to also look at it as food. Information, enlightenment, edification is food. It's food for your mind, which ultimately feeds your soul. And you're able to have a certain level of confidence as a result of that. Okay, that's like the intangible results that you get. Okay. All right, let's move to this next part real fast. And on those sections, I'll go over those sections at a later time, So now, this next part that I'm going to show you is going to be hopefully, maybe. recording stop? Hopefully the recording didn't stop. Well, let me see. Okay, I'm still going. Did the recording stop? Yeah, I'm still going. My software said that I stopped, but apparently I'm still going. Maybe I got like overflow going on right now. So sorry for that interruption. I'll make sure I have enough space on my hard drive. I edit videos and stuff, and my hard drive gets like filled up. If I have 50 gigabytes left, it's like detrimental. It's wild. All right, so next part. If it cuts off, I'll continue it at a later time. But what I'm about to show you is a major chord, and it's literally going to show up where this G is and in this 3 fret section right here, and it's going to fall right where some of these notes are. Okay, so that is a G major, and it literally lands on the notes, on a lot of the notes that are right there. So those shapes are not just the shapes. They land on the notes that are on the fretboard in the key of G major. Okay, so we don't have to totally rely on memorization per se, or in terms of memorizing shapes. If we know our intervals and we know where the notes land, that also aids or assists in what we memorize. Okay, so we don't have to like do that. Okay, the more we see this stuff, the more it becomes like a part of us. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you, Ayla. Like I'm just like, I'm hanging on for real. Like it looked like I don't have no more like memory, but maybe it jumped to my hard drive and that's why it's still going. Yeah, so this major chord, it lands right on the because yeah, right now I'm not on TikTok. I'm just kind of like, it's just me and y'all right now. So yeah. So, a lot of times we approach learning guitar by just learning shapes, and all we see is this. Like, okay, yeah, where do I put my finger and everything? So, and I'm not mad at that. That's a good, low barrier of entry, I guess you can say. Learn a shape, learn a song, learn a shape, 2 shapes, a song. But after that, it's time to like make it stick. But just know that it lands right on where those notes are. It starts to highlight. And then guess what? The next one. So the G major is the 1. Don't be confused by where it says 3rd, because that represents the 3rd fret. Okay. That represents the 3rd fret. But this is the 1. And that's where I started the first note of the major scale. Then this is the 1, the 2, the 3. Okay, so this is another 3, but you can play a 3 in another place too. So you can play a major chord another way too, but this is just one way to play it. 4, 5, so this is a 5th. 6, 7, this is the root again. We can say 8, but that's really the 2 again. After the 1, here's a 2 right here. Here's also a 2. 3, here's a 3rd. There's a 3rd too. I just don't have it highlighted. 3, 4, 5, 6, back to 1. And everything that's on the high E string is the same as the low E string in terms of note name. Okay. So cool. So now I'm gonna like Speedy Rabbit again. Okay. So that's that G major. And guess what's next? Is the 2. That 2 is right there. And it also lands on the notes that are within this framework, this major key framework. All right. And it happens to be a minor chord. Guess what? And that's the 2 chord. Okay. Here's the 3 chord. It lands right there. It starts on that 3. Guess what? Here's the 4. It's another major chord. That's where that 4 is. So on that same thing, here's the G. 2, 3, 4. And keep in mind, you can play, these are different shapes, but you can play these same chords from the A string. It's a different shape though, but I'm just showing you this. Okay. Let's go to the 5. Here's the 5. Okay. Here's the 6. And the reason why I have it highlighted over here as well, I have it highlighted on that other side as well, because bar chord time. Great way to build up my calluses. Yep, you got that right. And after you building them, it's like they're not even there. It's just your body is trying to say, no, I don't want to do this. That's what's really happening. Then after you're like, we're doing it. It's like, okay, I'll submit. But yeah, but this at the 12th fret, which you will likely not be playing that far up, to be quite honest with you, because this is the 12th fret. And this is where all this stuff, it starts over again. So if you go way back on this side, just keep in mind that the notes on this open side and these 2 dots is just like this nut right here with the 2 dots. You just see the 2 dots over on this side, which would also be a minor chord. So if I were to take out the and I'm gonna be wrapping it up, but if I were to take this out, basically, okay, you could play that in that open position over here, okay, as well as on the 12th fret. All right, so this open E minor is letting all these notes ring out, and you're only fretting these 2 notes right here. Okay, so that's literally that. I mean, that's pretty much all of it, and I'll just show you this just to show it to you. So that's the 7 position. And it basically, it goes back. If we're playing it from the E string, it basically just goes back, because there's not a lot of space once you start playing after that 12th fret. And if you're beginning, there's no need to really even, some people don't go past the 5th fret or even the 3rd fret for that matter. So yeah, I mean, that's, we got to prime our minds. Well, I'll say, before you plant a seed, you got to till the soil. You got to loosen up the soil. And if the soil is hard, the seeds won't be as absorbent. I mean, the soil won't absorb the moisture that facilitates nourishment for the seeds. So the way I look at that mentally is you're just going over it over and over, over and over. And then once the information hits, then you're able to understand it. Then your understanding can grow, just like the blades grow. And then it turns into the stuff that, it needs to turn into. So, yeah, that's all I got for tonight. And I hope that some kind of light bulb went off somewhere, even if like a little candle went off, or like, a little laser flashlight or something like that went off at some point. And Ayla, you said bar chord time. Even though it is bar chord time, just know that any bar chord, you can play a part of that bar chord and you're still playing the chord. You're playing a part of that chord already. If you don't play for example, let me go back to my original scene. So if I'm playing this G, well, I can still play this. And I can, in fact, if I do that, I can do more. Without playing all this. Anthony, no problem, man. No problem. And to be quite honest with you, even if this was like an intermediate lesson, you know, I mean, maybe this is considered intermediate. I would still just kind of touch on it. Maybe not from a foundational sense, but I would briefly just hit it. You know what I'm saying? Just to kind of locate where we are. And a lot of times it's like, oh man, I didn't see it that way. But yeah, if you're playing a G major chord, you can also only play a part of the chord. You can play it up high, or you can play it just a power chord, and you're still gonna get the point across. You know, like I don't know if you saw the for Ayla, if you saw the tutorial I did on the Lenny Kravitz joint this past, I think Saturday. I think that's when I did it. And I think it was in A. And I'm just doing that with power chords. Now the song is played in major chords. But you can get the point across just playing power chords. So everything is not, you know, playing the bar chords. You can, it's optional, but I can play it power chord, or I can play it up high too. Okay. So yes. So that's where we are. You know, I just wanted to go over those things. I like to make sure that I say that God loves you. I love you. And I can only do that because of what I've experienced. And you can't love unless you receive love. That's just a principle. So understand that. And since you are loved, then you're able to love. So please make sure that you spread that light and be a light to someone else, because you may be the only example of light that there is for that person. And hope the lesson was helpful. And I'll be coming back, I think, Friday? Good night, Ayla. Thank you. Yeah, Friday and Saturday is what I'm looking at. So we're going to start like the Tuesday, Friday, Saturday thing. And but yeah, that's where we're at. So I love y'all. Thank you so much for attending and just hanging out with me. Whoever that other person is who's not saying something, I'm going to need to get you in these comments. But all right. See y'all. Have a good night. See you later. Peace.